Realme X7 Pro 5G. Experience the future. Realme, dare to leap.
So the auction continues to roll on, and the uncapped players have also commanded quite a fair price at this year's IPL auction. This is ESPN Cricket for Match Day. This is ESPN Cricket for Auction Day, powered by Realme X7 5G and X7 Pro 5G. You've got to wake up. It's 5:45 in the evening here. And there are I don't know what the right time would be in Hobart, but maybe Brad Hodge can help me out on that, because it's been a good day for Riley Meredith, who's claimed some serious money. He's going to go to Punjab. We saw a little bit of Meredith in the Big Bash. He's also earned a national call-up for the T20 series against New Zealand coming up. And he's gone to Brad Hodge's former side at 8 crore, which takes it to two young Australian fast bowlers in Richardson and Meredith, who together have commanded nearly 22 crore from Punjab. Haji, thoughts?
Oh, I'm staggered, really. I mean, good stuff from Riley Meredith. But, to pay for two fast bowlers that amount of money, that probably one's going to play, the other one may be parked on the bench. It's really interesting, isn't it, how you actually use your purse and what you need to spend. These guys are two really good cricketers. Riley Meredith in particular bowls fast. He's 150 with the odd change of pace. The only concern I've got is they haven't had much experience in IPL nor in India. So that might be a little bit of a concern. But all I know is I've watched both of them very closely, and they're definitely up-and-coming future stars. So there's no reason why they won't perform for Kings 11 Punjab. It's a good place to bowl quick. There's no doubt about that. Whether it's you get games in Mohali or not, who knows. But, if you're still playing in Mumbai and particular grounds, they'll get some good pace and bounce. They'll be pretty fast and hostile.
What a good time to be a fast bowler, Ajit.
Yeah, I'm actually happy for once, because somehow in these small auctions, fast bowlers seem to be in more demand than the batters. It seems to be the case every year. I'm not complaining. No,
you'll have to dust the boots off, Ajit. You come back, man.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, I might think about it. only for the small auction. But no, it's incredible. I mean, like Haji said, two sort of Jai Richardson's had a bit more experience of playing in Indian conditions, but IPL's a different beast. The pressure is different. The quality is incredibly up there. So they will be tested. What obviously Punjab lacked last year, or they couldn't quite get, were quick bowlers, and these were probably the two that they had marked out. But quite surprised. I haven't seen much of Riley Meredith, so we'll have to wait and see how he goes. But that's incredible money for someone who's absolutely untested.
Yep, fair enough. GS, Haji made the point. Can you accommodate both these big money signings in the 11? Now, Punjab, if you scan back through their season last time, they started with Cottrell and Jordan. They couldn't play both. Eventually, they wanted to. And of course, you've got Nicholas Puran, who you think will command one place. And you picked up David Malan this year. It'll be between him and Gale. Can they fit Meredith and Richardson in the same 11?
I think a lot of teams are going with these two overseas fast bowlers. It worked with Mumbai, it worked with Delhi last year. So maybe teams are looking at how the good teams are getting their teams ready. And remember, both these bowlers are very injury prone. Haji might agree to that. Jai Richardson's coming back from a big injury, so we don't know how it will shape up. So teams want enough backup, so which is why they've taken a backup for. They have two 140 plus bowlers in there. So if they get to play both, great. But if they can't, then at least they have one, and they have picked up two with respect to that.
I tell you what, you've got a whole section of just medical files of fast bowlers, don't you, in your place? Yes. Here we are with the romance of a young fast bowler who may really command a lot of money and take the IPL by storm. But I like that you keep us real. There are some injury concerns. Is that the case with? I mean, we know Jai Richardson's been in and out. Again, the promise of two. What? It's an interesting point GS makes, Haji and Ajit, on Mumbai went for the overseas seamers. Delhi went for the overseas seamers. These were successful sides last year, but there was a Rabada there. There was Bumrah there. There was perhaps one stable, fast, experienced bowler, and one you could play around with. Punjab don't have that luxury, as good as Richardson is. Haji?
No, if you look at
yeah,
sorry.
Carry on.
No, go Ajit.
No, I mean, Couple of things. I mean, the previous tournament was in the UAE, so you could afford to play overseas seamers. And also, do you have enough spin backup? You will need spinners in your 11 when you do play. So Mumbai have, they had Chahar last year. Kunal Pandya bowls a little bit. Now they've added Piyush Chawla to the squad. Do Punjab? I think Punjab released Mujibur Rahman as well.
Yes.
So you'll have to see. I mean, it's all very well to have guys who are quick or overseas guys, but can you fit them in the? I can't see Punjab fitting those two in their 11, especially with the kind of batting that they have up top. That they've gone for David Malan as well.
Hmm.
Chris Gale, obviously, you don't quite know whether he'll start or no. Nicholas Pooran obviously has to play. So, it'll be nice if they can fit, but they're looking at that. If Chris Gale is not quite fit and they only have a few
It's still
overseas
a very
batsmen.
inexperienced attack, though, isn't it, Ajit? If
Absolutely,
you are going to play
absolutely.
both of them, you've just got Shami and the two of them. Assuming Puran, Malan, and but one of Gain and Malan would be your four. That's still an experienced bowling lineup, isn't it?
It is. It is a high pressure tournament. So when you're spending that kind of money, of course, you think that they've got the ability. That's why you're spending money on them. You just hope that they can handle the pressure, particularly in Indian conditions for a fast bowler.
Yeah, I'm just trying to compare this. We'll come to the big money signing of K. Gautam also, but compare this with the way Mumbai went when Chris Morris didn't come. They went for an experienced player. They weren't willing to put big money into players that haven't played in the IPL. They secured the likes of Coulter Nile and Adam Milne, who has a little bit of experience in the IPL before this as well. But just to tell you a little bit about how franchises tend to go, Haji, we've seen this from Punjab before, spending big money on Cottrell, spending big money on guys that haven't played in the IPL in the hope that they'll come off.
Yeah, well, it's pie in the sky stuff, isn't it? Really, when you think about it, I'm a little bit with Ajit. It's such a tough tournament, and you only need to really have one bad day for your whole tournament to derail.
Yeah.
And as a youngster, it's really hard to bounce back. There's a lot of external pressure. We know that the owners of the teams. I mean, they're high-profile people, right? They command a high level of expertise. They're paying good money. And it just takes one bad day. So for a youngster that hasn't had experience to be able to bounce back through a really tough day in international cricket, it's hard to call on those experiences. I mean, Big Bash it's a different beast, right? IPL is just in another stratosphere of pressure. So hopefully they do well. I mean, they've got the purse right. So now the hard trick is that expectation. So coming with an 8 crore tag, usually you pin. That means you've got to win off your own ball 3 games minimum. That's generally the way they tag it. So, 2 crores is 1 game, 4 is 2, 6 is 3. So you got to win 4 games off your own ball, which is probably 3 for 15 edge, 4 or 5 times. That's not simple to do.
Good luck to the fast bowlers then. Riley Meredith. Let's see how things go. You never know. The fast bowlers tend to take us by surprise. But let's go to the other big money signing in this recent set. K. Gautam. We are wondering to see whether there would be an appetite by the franchises for him. And Chennai, who jumped in a little late while there was a bid going on between KKR and Sunrisers. Sunrisers almost willing to break their balance, their entire purse balance for him. They have a little over 10 crore and they're willing to go almost up to 8.5, 9 crore for K. Gautam. Eventually, it was a bid that was secured by CSK. KKR fought hard for it. GS, Ajit, I'm very curious to hear your thoughts, but let me take GS first up. Is this surprising you, GS, or not?
Not in terms of the personal. Obviously, they wanted an off spinner now for balance purpose. If he wants to play Moeen Ali, he can play. If he wants to play an Indian, he can play K. Gautam. So from a balance perspective, this helps. But knowing MS Dhoni, he's likely to bowl him 1 over and just not give him enough balls to bat. So that's how it's been happening in Chennai anyway. But it's a good addition. Someone who's a power hitter. It's just so good to be an all-rounder in Indian domestic circuit. It's very, very a big trend for a long time. Somebody who can bat and bowl and hit those big sixes, you immediately get good money. So K. Gautam is actually the highest uncapped Indian player, and Riley Meredith is the highest uncapped overseas ever in an auction. So that is very, very interesting, especially an uncapped overseas is very rare.
Who says it's tough times in the world? The IPL auction just continues to throw up these extraordinary numbers every year. It's such an interesting balance, isn't it, Ajit? Having the skill set, which year after year people are willing to pay good money for, and yet being at franchises where you don't necessarily have the performances that match up to it. Gautam has been part of Rajasthan Royals. He was part of Punjab, and now here he is getting even bigger bid than what he was on that 6 or 7 crore that he was on the last couple of years, and going to Chennai.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of Maxwell, isn't it? It's almost the perception of what they can do, or you hope that they can do. Completely understand why Chennai have gone for it. I mean, that's the way MS Dhoni likes to build his teams or play around. Have as many spin options as possible. They struggled. There's no doubt they were desperate to have some sort of off spin option last year, and they couldn't. And there were a couple of games where towards the end of the innings they had to bowl a left arm spin. I think Jadeja bowled, and there was a leg spinner bowled, and they struggled at that point. But still staggering. I mean, it's K. Gautam's been around for a while now, and even though, like GS said, it helps to be an all-rounder who can tonk a few sixes and bowl a few overs. I can't remember him doing that too many times over the last few years. So, but again, it's the auction dynamics. If you want a player desperately, and there is somebody who's trying to bid against you, you keep going higher. But that, like Haji said, when you pay that kind of money, you expect match-winning performances. Are you going to get that from Gautam? We haven't seen that on too many occasions, really.
Okay, Maxwell's a very interesting sort of reference, or a parallel to draw with someone like Gautam. Haji, can it happen often that it's just a different team is all that it needs? You have Maxwell now suddenly moving from Punjab, going to Bangalore. Yes, he's been part of other franchises too. You have K. Gautam, who will now play under MS Dhoni for the first time in the IPL. Could that just make the only difference?
You'd hope so. Yeah, maybe. I mean, Dhoni's a special leader, right? He's able to get the best out of people when you don't think so. Glenn Maxwell, on the other hand, has had many leaders in many franchises in IPL, and no one's got the best out of him yet. So, yeah, K. Gautam might be one of those persons where, Dhoni's very, very crafty of when he brings people and when he uses them in the side. That's his master skill. So he'll make sure that Gautam gets into the tournament and is effective in times in the tournament where he feels he can certainly have an impact. That's what he's a master stroke at, MSD.
Okay, let's look at some other. Yes.
They'd desperately be hoping that there's some games in Chennai. I mean, if they had one Kere, I mean, I can't imagine how.
I started this coverage thinking, will we get an idea of where the games are going to be held, looking at how franchises buy? And I'm still confused as hell, because you've got Punjab just fighting on these fast bowlers, and you've got Chennai just going after the spinners. So very interesting, but fair points. Let's look at some other players that just went through in this recent set. And name that comes to mind, of course, is Shah Rukh Khan, who we were imagining would go for decent money. The hard-hitting middle order bat from Tamil Nadu, and he's gone at 5.25 crores once again to Punjab. So they've been spending the money. GS, thoughts on that?
I'm surprised it went to Punjab. They have Deepak Hooda, Sarfaraz Khan, Mandeep Singh. They do have a lot of players for that role, but I guess they see something in Shah Rukh Khan for that to replace all these guys. So power hitter, yes, I really thought he would fit perfectly for Royal Challengers Bangalore. They still have that number 6 slot vacant, and that was an Indian, so they could have gone a little more. Again, purely on perception, purely of his ability to hit sixes. He had a very good Vijay Hazare a year ago, but his stats against spin and generally his ability to play spin was a problem. He's gone ahead and improved that. So let's see if he can overcome that.
Yeah, I love this, isn't it? You got Kohli, you got AB, now you got Maxwell, but there's still a vacancy at number 6 for that finisher's role for RCB. But Shah Rukh Khan to Punjab, looking at the names that GS just pointed out, Ajit, Punjab have gone for a lot of players that we expected, would take big billing. Do they fit in this balance of this Punjab side? Sarfaraz Khan did not play a fair bit of last season. You had Hooda towards the end, who finally, got a score. But just thoughts on a player like that, Sarfaraz Khan? Sorry, Shah Rukh Khan?
Yeah, I mean, again, what GS said, his ability to maybe tonk lower middle order or that sort of position is why they've gone for him. I mean, I remember a couple of games in the UAE where they were in winning positions and they couldn't get the job done. I mean, clearly Maxwell was struggling, who was supposed to do that job, and they couldn't get over the line. They were cruising at one point. So maybe that's what they've looked at. Huda, Sarfaraz, Mandeep Singh maybe haven't done enough that they expected, or still options. But they've seen something in this guy who can perhaps fulfill that role. That's the only way you can explain, and it's the right place at the right time, isn't it? He's had a few good innings in domestic cricket, and people have taken notice of it. And then you sort of take a gamble, and like everything that happens in the auction, when there is somebody else trying to buy him as well, the price goes up. So, but clearly there are teams who've seen ability to hit big in that middle order, and that's why they've gone for him. Only time will tell if it's good enough at this level.
Yeah.
And Ronak, the other thing is, if you have to play two fast bowlers like MI or Delhi, you need a strong Indian core. So that's what I think Punjab have built now. They have a strong Indian core with Rahul, Mayank, and others. So I guess that's the strategy.
Okay, just looking at that list again from the names, we'll just round off some of the other uncapped players that were securing bids. So we're wondering to see if Delhi Capitals go for an Indian keeper. We expected them to, so they've gone for Vishnu Vinod, part of RCB's setup, and would be now an Indian keeping option, which they did not have when Rishabh Pant was injured last season. Ripal Patel's also been picked up by Delhi. We've been busy in this period. Lukman Meriwala, left arm seamer for Baroda, did well in the Mushtaq Ali. He's been picked up for Delhi as well. And they've also ended up by taking Manimaran Siddharth, who was released last season. I think it was by KKR. Other than that, Jagdish Suchit picked up by Hyderabad. So they're on the board, their first signing. Kariappa, the mystery spinner, went for good money not too long ago, was picked up for base price by Rajasthan. And we already discussed Riley Meredith a little while back. Some interesting unsold options, though, in that list. Maybe they'll get sold towards the end of the day, Haji. But likes of Mujibur Rahman, no takers for him. You worked closely with a Mujib. No one wants... No interest in Sandeep Lamichhane as well at the moment. Players that you think are just losing out on a couple of poor IPLs and a single skill set sort of issue, or can we see them picked up a little later in the auction?
Well, I'm surprised Mujib hasn't got a spot actually. Just with the unknown of where these grounds are going to be played. He's such an impact spinner, used up front, can be used in the middle. Probably got tonked by Hardik Pandya one time in indoor, which probably hurt his stocks a little bit. But all in all, it's one game. He's got an excellent record. We know Indian players are good players spin, but there's a few internationals in there which can't. And Mujib could be well and truly a good asset to have in your squad.
All right. We've got some interesting news coming in now. Cheteshwar Pujara has picked up a bid. He's been sold to Chennai Super Kings for 50 lakhs. So we're just going to discuss that while the other names just come up. He's gone into auctions before and he's gone unwanted. He's gone to CSK to MS Dhoni for 50 lakhs. Ajit?
Yeah, I'm happy for him. I think, I don't know where he's going to or he's likely to play. But I suppose, maybe another backup sort of player at the top of the order if they need, if the wickets are tough to bat on, and, maybe a 140, 150 game is what the pitches are likely to be, then perhaps he's an option. I've actually played with him for KKR in the early part of the IPL, the first couple of seasons. So he has played in the IPL. After that, obviously, teams have not really gone for him. We'll have to wait and see what, maybe an opening option, just in case, that they decide to play more overseas bowlers. Ruturaj Gaikwad obviously did well towards the end of that tournament, but I can't see him batting anywhere other than that if he doesn't open for CSK. But it's probably just a backup Indian experienced player, but I can't see him really playing too much cricket.
Okay, Pujara, quick word, GS.
Yeah, I think they had Vijay. They've just replaced him with Pujara. So pretty, I guess, and Uthappa is there. Faf's availability, we don't know. So there's a top order slot open there. So it's either Uthappa and Gaikwad or Pujara and Gaikwad. So I guess that's the plan.
Okay, lots of spinners. I think I'm looking for someone at short leg, Haji.
I couldn't see Cheteshwar taking the field for CSK, in my opinion. But what you get is a lot of cricketing knowledge and experience. So, that's invaluable around the dressing room. It doesn't matter whether it's a T20, Test match cricket, or just the experience around the dressing room, just to keep a calm head. That's where he'll be at.
Okay. Just as we are about to wrap, we'll stay on for a bit longer because Kyle Jameson, who we did predict is going to have some interest, is now up to a little over 7 crore, 7.5 crore now. So
Who's
that's
bidding?
That's just gone boom, speedy up. It looks like the
Well, he
Delhi
is 6'8".
very interested. Sorry, Ajit.
I said he is 6'8" anyway.
Yeah, yeah. You'll need quite a bit to cover him in if you catch it in coins. But anyway, Kyle Jameson for the Delhi Capitals seem interested, and Bangalore seem interested. So Capitals have clearly lost out on Riley Meredith. Ajit. They were very keen on getting him for as much as almost 7.75. That's how much they went to try and get him. Did not get him. They wanted to go fairly close with Mumbai Indians on Nathan Coulter. That didn't work out. So they're still looking potentially for a backup to a Nokia if there's an injury there, or how does Jameson fit into Delhi's plans for this sort of money that they're putting in?
Well, he's an all-rounder, isn't it? I mean, he's a fast bowler who can bat. So, he could easily be their fourth option as an overseas guy. I know they picked Steve Smith up.
Yeah.
But with the two quicks and Stoinis, he could very well be their fourth option. So you can understand that, and you can clearly understand why RCB are looking at him as well. So he was always going to go for big money. I think a lot of the teams, and now it's essentially the teams that have more money left are likely to go hard and try and outbid the other person. But you can understand the performances have been really good for New Zealand.
Yeah.
And he's looked very promising. It will be a different kettle of fish, the IPL, but you can see there's quality there.
Yeah, certainly. Excellent test year in Test cricket for Kyle Jameson. Was the winner of the ESPN Cricket for Debutant of the Year award, and was in a tussle between Bangalore and Delhi for that big money. And Punjab have jumped in. So surprise, surprise, 11 crore now. We're at 11 crore. So Punjab have spent 14 on Richardson, 8 on Meredith, and they're willing to spend up to 11 on Jameson. I can only ask
they're just trying to get to that BCCI threshold, or what? What's the deal here? Eh?
It's almost done now. If they get Jameson, BCCI will give more money to Punjab then.
What's going on, Brad Hodge? You've been part of this exact table in the past in auctions. What's going on here?
No, I know what happens. You start banging your head against the table. What's going on?
RCB have tried a lot of players and failed, so they have to get. They tried Morris, they couldn't get him. They tried Jai, they couldn't get him. They still need that overseas bowler come all-rounder. So I think they'll go. They have 20 crores, and they have to get in that Jamieson to fill up the slot. There's nobody else after this.
Wow, that's very interesting. You make that point. They're an overseas all-rounder, but again, someone who hasn't played in India, hasn't played the IPL. He's now up at 12 and a half. So he's entering Morris Maxwell categories now. His territory. That's sort of where Kyle Jameson's headed.
It's also very surprising. I wanted to just pick the experts. They've not played T20s at all regularly. None of these guys have played in India. It's purely based on, say, his height, his pace, and the potential he has. But can he do it with the wet ball at 9:30 p.m. with dew at the Wankhede or any other stadium?
Or Chinnaswamy. I can tell you this: no one can. It doesn't matter whether you're a 15 crore player or a 20 lakh player. When you're under pressure, you're under extreme pressure. So, we've Ajit spoken about it consistently through this broadcast that experience is critical. Under extreme pressure, which we know happens, it's critical. And that's why you probably lend towards some experience other than inexperience.
I mean, I can't help but, again, just if you look back, it's all so easy in hindsight to look at how franchises went about retentions, Ajit. But Bangalore, like Gaurav points out, have gone right up to 14, and it's still with Punjab at 14.25. Their remaining purse is a little over 20. So they're effectively just breaking the bank. They won Jameson, and could they have just kept Chris Morris for 10? If that would not have been
absolutely. And particularly because they bid for him as well, again, Chris Morris. So clearly they wanted him back. But Kyle Jameson, I mean, I'm sure if Mumbai had money, would have probably bid for him as well. It's just that he's come so late in the auction that they've already taken other options of players. So, but he was always going to go, and now there are 2 or 3 teams with lots of money, but as desperate to have decent players in the lineup. RC being one. So I'm not surprised they're going as much as they are, and maybe the other teams are now playing at that as well, making them, like he said, I think he's been at the table, so he knows these games go on at this stage, and they make them spend more money.
Yes, Hoji.
Yeah, I was just going to say exactly that. What Ajit said is that they know they need it, and they'll just make them spend the money.
Well, they've got him. Whatever you want to go with that. Now, out of that 20 remaining, 15 go the way of Kyle Jameson. Never played in the IPL before, limited T20 experience, outstanding year in Test match cricket with bat and ball in his first year in 2020. But 15 crore. And they let Morris go for 10. So just to give you some perspective, I don't know what would have been a bigger talking point. Punjab getting him for 15 after paying 14 for Richardson and 8 for Meredith, or Bangalore getting him now for 15 after, like JS points out, failing to get some of the others. Haji? Yeah, JS, please.
The thing is, Ronak, I know there's always a question about why didn't they keep Morris back, but the point is he was 10 crores. So if you had to buy a guy like Maxwell for 14 and you need to save up, you need to have some money. So assume they had Morris, they wouldn't have had, they would have come into this auction with like 22, 23 crores. And then buying one player for 15 might be very, very hard. So they would have hoped that Morris would have come cheaper. Maybe people would have thought that he's not been playing and people won't bid. So that's the auction dynamics there. If you're not released Morris, you don't have that money to even go for the other players.
No, I totally get that. As long as I don't see the same side going for him again at 9.510. That's the only thing that baffles me, because then I get that this player's not part of your plan. Then it's
as long
fair.
as they didn't go more than 10, they're okay.
Yeah, I get it. And Maxwell did show up before Morris, right? If it was the other way around, we wouldn't have known exactly how things would have gone. Yeah, but I interesting, very interesting that. But 15 for Kyle Jameson, which leaves RCB with about 4 or 5 left to go as Tom Curran's bid has begun. Let me just get thoughts from Brad Hodge on Jameson. Not sure what we'll get from him in India, but 15 crores, a lot of money for a first time in the IPL, Oji.
Yeah, probably 8 crores overpriced, but that's just the way the auction rolls, isn't it? I mean, these small auctions, people seem to attract more money than in the large auctions. So, as Ajit just mentioned before, it's just two teams bidding. I'm not sure why Kings went so hard for Jamison when they've just gone hard for 2 quicks. That was astonishing purchasing that. But I'm glad that Jamison has ended up at the RCB. At least we will see him play. So he's 15 crore player. At least he's going to take the park, which is a good thing. He may not have even taken the park at the Kings 11. That's the thing, right? It's mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something else that I'm just seeing if it's a bit of a pattern. You try to get an insight of how teams pick players. And, GS, we've discussed this before, isn't it? Virat Kohli tends to really like players that he has first-hand faced or seen, right? He's willing to pay good money to Jai Richardson, didn't get him. He picked up Tymal Mills not too long ago for really good money, who had a good series against the Indian captain. Here you've got Kyle Jameson, who Kohli would have seen enough of, in the series in New Zealand. I'm not sure if this is a bit of a pattern, but Ajit, JS, do we see this as something that RCB tend to do? Kohli likes to go for bowlers that he himself has had the experience of playing?
Possibly. There was Tymal Mills at one point who you got him out as well. So yeah, possibly. Look, I mean, there's some quality performers as well. So I don't know whether it's just when somebody's bowled well against him, but clearly it does form an opinion. And it's not just Virat Kohli. It could be other players as well. If they do well against your team in international cricket, you tend to, obviously look at them a lot closer and rate them a little bit more. So, not surprised if they do go for it. My only thing is, I mean, again, we keep coming back. It's 1 year. So you're putting, 15 crores on a player. So will you retain him if you think he's that important going forward? Only time will tell. But it's just 1 year, and that'll be another interesting thing to see when going forward. There will be some retentions before they go in the big auction. So this will probably tell us how much they rate these players who they're spending big money on. I know they're desperate, but will tell us a lot more as well.
Yeah, this was perhaps the first sign of desperation that we saw at this auction this time, isn't it, GS? You could see what the franchises had all gauged of RCB. They've missed out on a couple of guys that they really wanted. They missed out on Morris. They missed out on Jai Richardson. They were going to go big on Jameson, and it seems like they've been made to pay.
Yeah, it was very predictable, and again, the order matters so much. The order in which the players come, and Jameson, for someone who's coming so down, I think this must be. I haven't seen the data yet, but someone coming at the 80th or around the late 70s in terms of player, getting 15 crores is a very very rare thing. It just shows how so minimal players are there who the scouts see as potentials.
Just before we wrap things up, we're fast approaching the end of the first phase of the auction, after which there will be an accelerated phase only. Another pretty decent signing is, well, decent in general terms, not in terms of what we've seen today, but 5.25 crore Tom Curran to the Delhi Capitals. The Capitals have been interested in quite a few players and failed to get them. They've had to almost make do with, perhaps plan B, plan C, that sort of approach. Haji, they didn't get Coultonell, they didn't get Meredith. They now got Tom Curran at a pretty decent clip at 5.25 crore. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's a good purchase though. And I think that they saw the benefit or the loss of benefit when Marcus Stoinis got injured out of their side last year. So I think this is a real smart play from Ponting and the Delhi Capitals, just to be able to just assure that all-rounder stock's up. He's had a couple of tastes too at IPL, so he's accustomed to the conditions. He's a very good player. He can bowl in the power play, the death, in the middle, can whack a few, good in the field. So I think he's a nice little addition to complement Marcus Stoinis.
All right. Tom Curran going the Delhi Capitals way then. And a couple of names that have gone unsold and all that. Ben Cutting. So no wedding present for Ben Cutting. He's gone unsold here. He's been part of a winning IPL side in the past with the Sunrisers. Gurkirat Man, no takers for him. Manus Labuschagne, no takers. He set the end parts of that BBL on fire with his bowling more than his batting, Haji. But does it surprise you in any way that Labuschagne's not at a bid?
Come on, Ronak. Come on. Let's move on, son. He's a great player, but in T20, no thanks.
Right. Okay. Simple as that. Moses Enriques, those seems to be of significant interest. So he's being bid on aggressively at the moment. We'll just wait before we wrap up on how the Enriques bid goes. But just to recap, we'll just look at some of those other names that we put up in the last set of the auction. Anyone else that have failed to cover? As I said, few Indian uncapped players that were picked up at a pretty decent price. Chetan Sakaria actually got a decent amount of money, 1.2 crore for a player who started on his base price. Does look like, again, there is some interest for certain skill sets. Ajit, left arm seamers, Lukman Meriwala going for decent money. So there is, or rather, he went for base price, but just again, that whole thing of pick up players for certain skill sets, left arm seamers seem to be again in demand.
Yeah, it's just now just strengthening your bench, isn't it? I mean, and having different options, whether it's spin, seam, and guys who've done domestically well, obviously will get a bit of preference. And like you said, skill sets, left arm seamers or guys who can bowl well at the end of the innings, have decent variations. Those are the guys I think the scouting network looks at, and eventually, if they can get them at the base price, then nothing like it, and that'll happen with a lot more players as well.
Okay, so as a result of that 15 crore amount that Bangalore would have spent, that would have taken their balance purse. JS, help me with my math. We're around 5 somewhere there. A balance of about 5. Yeah, so they can't. I think they'd be very happy to just not look at Punjab anymore, because 3.5 is where they're on with Enriques RCB, and Punjab are again, trying to get that higher, or at least they're interested in him. So they're still looking for someone to do that sort of role. Moses Enriques is of interest to Bangalore. GS, just make sense of that?
No, I think it looks like they've stopped bidding and it's going to Punjab. So again, Punjab need that all-rounder slot. We thought that's why I think they were going for Kyle Jamieson, because I think Jamieson's a better batter than Meredith or Jai. Now they've not got him, so they've got Moises Enriques, is my thinking. They had Nisham for that role last year, and they're just plugging the gaps. I doubt he'll get a game, but yeah, just for that, in case of injuries, they need a backup. So that's how they have Moises.
Yeah, they're also making sure they don't have to give any of that those freebies to the BCCI that you pointed out.
Right. I think with this bid, they go past a magical mark of 63 crores.
That is pretty much a wrap. So Moses Enriques still commanding a decent amount of money. Haji, he's not quite had the amount of opportunity in the IPL in the past, though.
I actually think he's right in the prime of his skill sets, Ronak. Yeah, I think he's in a real good place to actually nearly command the spot in the side. He's a great player of spin. He's got a really good power hitting game now, and he's just got a real clear head. He's a great thinker, a student of the game. Led New South Wales and the Sydney Sixers for a number of years now. I think he's a good good purchase. He's snuck under the radar,
Sure.
for many years. So he's done well. It's a good buy.
Okay. So Moses Henrique's a pretty good buy. And that's pretty much it for this phase of the auction. Some interesting highlights there. Kyle Jameson. Wow, I don't know what time it is in New Zealand, but I'm sure Jameson's going to be up. They're all up, aren't they, Oji? No matter what time it is.
Oh, you're up. You never sleep, man. This is a huge day for every cricketer on the planet. There's no doubt about that.
All right, so he's going to be playing at RCB is Kyle Jameson, and we're going to just recap more of these pickups as soon as the accelerated process begins as well. So we'll join Brad Hodge, Ajit Agarkar, and Gaurav Sundaram. Then keep an eye out on how much money teams have left. Not a lot now for Bangalore. So we'll see how things go in the accelerated process. We'll be back again to wrap it up on ESPN Cricket for Auction Day, powered by Realme X7 5G and X7 Pro 5G.
Realme X7 Pro 5G. Experience the future. Realme, dare to lead.